Josie Duggar admitted to hospital again. Marriage pressure sparks family crisis. Jim Bob in tears. The quiet calm of the Duggar household was shattered once more as news emerged that Josie Duggar, one of the youngest daughters of the prominent Duggar family, had been admitted to the hospital under distressing circumstances. Friends and insiders confirmed that the cause of this latest hospitalization is tied directly to the immense pressure surrounding marriage expectations, a pressure that has long shadowed her childhood, adolescence, and early adulthood. For years, Josie has been held to strict family standards, a carefully curated life path dictated by parental authority, rigid tradition, and the public eye. But now, as the emotional strain reaches its peak, the physical and psychological toll has become undeniable, and even Jim Bob Duggar, patriarch of the family, has been seen breaking down in tears over the unfolding crisis. Josie's journey has been marked by a continuous tension between duty and desire. From a young age, she was raised in a household where obedience, conformity, and adherence to long-standing courtship rules were not optional but mandatory. Every decision, from her clothing to her social interactions, was subtly yet consistently guided by her parents' vision of propriety and family cohesion. Yet, even within this structured environment, glimpses of independence and self-expression emerged. Friends and former classmates described Josie as intelligent, thoughtful, and quietly determined, with an inner life rich in curiosity, ambition, and emotional depth. These qualities, while often suppressed publicly for the sake of compliance, have now surfaced in ways that clash with the rigid expectations imposed upon her. The pressure surrounding marriage is not new for Josie. Unlike her older siblings, many of whom married young under the carefully orchestrated courtship rules of the family, Josie's path has been more complex. Observers note that she has faced repeated family insistence to commit to a union, while simultaneously being told to wait for the right person approved by parental and, by extension, public standards. The psychological weight of these conflicting messages has been enormous. Sources close to the family report that Josie has repeatedly expressed feelings of anxiety, self-doubt, and overwhelming stress, often internalizing the struggle rather than voicing it openly. This hospitalization is the culmination of years of such pressure. Medical professionals involved have confirmed that Josie exhibited symptoms consistent with severe stress, elevated blood pressure, palpitations, and acute emotional distress. The decision to admit her to the hospital was not taken lightly, reflecting the seriousness of her condition and the urgent need for both physical stabilization and mental health support. Observers point out that repeated hospitalizations in high-pressure environments often indicate systemic issues, unresolved emotional trauma, persistent anxiety, and the long-term effects of living under continuous scrutiny and expectation. Jim Bob Duggar's reaction to this latest crisis underscores the profound familial implications. Known for his authority and composure, Jim Bob was reportedly overcome with emotion upon learning of Josie's hospitalization, seen openly shedding tears as he confronted the possibility that the pressures he and his household imposed may have contributed directly to his daughter's health emergency. Sources close to the family suggest that while Jim Bob has often been viewed as stern or controlling, moments like this reveal a more vulnerable human side, a father confronted with the tangible consequences of years of strict oversight and cultural expectation. Michelle Duggar, meanwhile, has been a stabilizing presence at the hospital, attending to Josie's immediate needs while coordinating with medical staff and attempting to mediate between the emotional and practical dimensions of the family crisis. The timeline of events leading to this hospitalization is complex but telling. In recent months, Josie reportedly engaged in multiple private conversations about her hesitations regarding marriage, expressing both personal desires and fears of disappointing her parents. While these conversations were initially discreet, Internal family sources indicate that tension escalated as parental insistence intensified. Each dinner conversation, family meeting, or casual interaction became a potential site of conflict, with subtle hints, direct questions, and emotional appeals creating a relentless, almost inescapable pressure environment. In high-profile households like the Duggars, where personal choice is consistently weighed against tradition and public perception, such pressure can magnify emotional strain exponentially. Hospital staff, according to insiders, have been closely monitoring Josie's physical and emotional responses, providing interventions aimed at stabilizing her while simultaneously addressing the root causes of her stress. Interventions include counseling sessions, stress reduction strategies, and family mediation where possible. Yet the situation remains delicate. Analysts observing the family note that when a highly scrutinized, tightly managed household experiences emotional crisis, the visibility of the issue often compounds the stress rather than alleviating it. Social media, fans, and media outlets inevitably engage, dissecting every detail of hospital updates, parental statements, and private family interactions, often intensifying the emotional load on both the patient and the family. One of the most striking aspects of this story is the emotional juxtaposition between Josie and her father. On one hand, Josie embodies a human response to extreme pressure, exhaustion, vulnerability, and the need for care. On the other, Jim Bob's tears signal the profound moral and emotional weight of authority. This is a father confronted not only with his daughter's suffering, but with the recognition that his expectations, born from a desire for family continuity, moral integrity, and public reputation, may have contributed to her distress. Psychologists note that such dynamics are common in hierarchical families. The stress of expectation impacts both the subordinate, Josie, and the authority figure, Jim Bob, creating a feedback loop of guilt, anxiety, and heightened emotional vulnerability. The broader implications of Josie's hospitalization extend into the very structure of the Duggar household. Siblings reportedly navigate their own emotional responses, balancing empathy for Josie with loyalty to parental authority. Some reportedly attempt to mediate, offering support and reassurance, while others struggle to understand the intensity of her response, having themselves been conditioned to navigate similar pressures. This interplay of perspectives, while natural in large families, becomes magnified under the lens of public attention, where each gesture, statement, and social media post is scrutinized, interpreted, and often misrepresented. Medical experts emphasize the gravity of repeated hospitalization under conditions of emotional stress. Chronic exposure to high-pressure environments, particularly when compounded by social expectation and parental insistence, can lead to both acute and long-term health consequences. In Josie's case, the symptoms observed, palpitations, acute anxiety episodes, elevated blood pressure, and psychosomatic distress, reflect a system pushed to its limits. The interventions currently in place, including rest, counseling, and familial support, aim not only to stabilize her in the present, but to mitigate risks in the future. Observers and analysts alike have highlighted a critical dimension. The tension between individual autonomy and familial expectation is at the heart of this crisis. Josie's reluctance to enter into a marriage she does not feel prepared for is a deeply human assertion of agency, yet within the framework of the Duggar household, it is experienced as both rebellion and failure. The hospitalization, then, is not merely a medical event. It is a manifestation of the collision between deeply ingrained familial control and the natural desire for self-determination. Social media reaction has been intense, with fans expressing concern, support, and speculation. Some view the hospitalization as evidence of systemic pressure within the family structure. Others focus on Josie's courage in asserting her autonomy in the face of overwhelming expectation. Across the spectrum, One theme is consistent. This event has drawn attention to the human cost of rigid family hierarchies, particularly those living under public scrutiny, where compliance and appearance are often valued above emotional well-being. As Josie continues to recover, attention now turns to the family's next steps. How will Jim Bob and Michelle balance the enforcement of tradition with the immediate emotional and physical needs of their daughter? How will siblings navigate the tension between loyalty to parental authority and support for Josie's personal choices? Analysts suggest that the outcomes will likely shape family dynamics for years to come, influencing decisions about courtship, marriage, and autonomy for other children in the household. The psychological resonance of this event is profound. Josie's hospitalization serves as a lens into the lived experience of young adults raised under intense oversight, where each life decision is carefully monitored and guided, and where the expression of hesitation or doubt is met with emotional, moral, and sometimes social consequences. Her vulnerability, juxtaposed with Jim Bob's tears, reveals a family structure strained to its limits, a dynamic in which love, duty, and authority collide with deeply human needs for autonomy, understanding, and compassion. Even as Josie rests, the emotional arc continues to evolve. Conversations in the household, private reflections, and subtle shifts in interaction signal that the family is adjusting, albeit slowly, to the reality that strict adherence to expectation may carry consequences far more serious than previously anticipated. Analysts note that such events often catalyze long-term change, forcing hierarchical families to reconsider the balance between control and individual agency, public image and private well-being, tradition and compassion. The story of Josie Duggar's hospitalization is more than a medical narrative. It is a portrait of the emotional realities faced by individuals under sustained familial and societal pressure. It is a story of vulnerability, courage, and the complex interplay between personal choice and inherited expectation. Jim Bob's tears are a reminder that even authority figures are human, capable of empathy, remorse, and reflection when confronted with the consequences of their influence. As the Duggar household navigates this latest crisis, one thing is clear: the pressures surrounding marriage, expectation, and public perception have tangible effects, both emotional and physical. Josie's hospitalization underscores the urgent need for compassion, dialogue, and support, highlighting the fragile balance between duty and autonomy in high-pressure family environments. Every day forward represents an opportunity for healing, understanding, and the recalibration of familial relationships, even within a household as tightly managed and publicly visible as the Duggars. This ongoing saga reminds viewers and analysts alike that behind the polished image of reality television, structured family values, and public persona lies the raw, unfiltered reality of human emotion, fear, stress, grief, love, and the struggle for self-determination. Josie Duggar's story, her hospitalization, and Jim Bob's tears illuminate the intricate, often painful dynamics of families living under scrutiny, revealing both the costs of control and the enduring resilience of the human spirit in the face of overwhelming expectation. As Josie Duggar begins the slow process of recovery, the focus is shifting from immediate medical stabilization to the broader, long-term implications of this hospitalization on both her personal life and the Duggar family as a whole. Experts predict that the next phase will involve careful family mediation, counseling, and potentially a reevaluation of the marriage pressures historically placed on her. Sources close to the family suggest that Josie's courage in expressing her boundaries may encourage her siblings to voice their own concerns in the future, subtly challenging the rigid hierarchy that has governed the household for decades. Looking ahead, analysts believe that the Duggar family will face difficult choices regarding the balance between public image and private well-being. Jim Bob Duggar, deeply affected by the hospitalization, may begin to reconsider the intensity of expectations he imposes on his children, particularly regarding marriage and courtship. Michelle Duggar is expected to play a pivotal role, navigating the emotional aftermath while providing support and guidance, ensuring that Josie feels heard and validated. Observers note that the family's ability to adapt to this crisis could redefine relationships, establish new patterns of communication, and potentially create a more compassionate approach to life decisions for younger siblings. From a social perspective, Josie's hospitalization and the circumstances surrounding it are likely to spark broader discussions among fans and the public about the psychological toll of rigid family structures and high-pressure expectations. Conversations around mental health, autonomy, and personal choice may gain traction, using her story as a case study for understanding the human cost behind the carefully curated Duggar image. The public fascination, while intense, could serve as both a challenge and an opportunity. A challenge because scrutiny adds pressure, but an opportunity because it opens the door for empathy and dialogue about emotional well-being in highly visible families. Thanks for watching.